Hello there, I'm Robert Chappell, and I want to give you an introduction to what I call Rain Unravelled Tales, a Bob Dylan data journey. And this is a series of dashboards hosted in Tableau Public that takes a look at Dylan's live performances, where he's played, what he sang there, and if you're using this on your own at home, if you hover over any of the album covers, they will give you some additional information, some additional insights. And as you go along, anywhere you want to see more detail, or as we'll see, reconfigure any of the dashboards, you just click on a bar, a dot, a line, and you'll see what happens. Navigation through this is there's a set of tabs across the top, or there's this little caret that drops down and you can jump from anything to where you want to go. I should say that when I choose projects in Tableau, I'm always looking for something new to do or new to test my skills. And in this case, not just because I have a huge love of the music of Dylan, I some time ago had created this is the big Dylan dashboard that uses exactly the same data set as we're looking at here. And I wanted to do something different because I think it's very easy to look at a data set, say, I have now created dashboards based on that, and then never go and revisit it. That you've produced the one definitive piece of work on that data set. And this time I wanted to think about different ways of looking at the data, different things I could do with it. And so that's kind of like the techie Tableau side of why I wanted to do this, other than the fact that I love Dylan. So where are we going to start with? Well, we're going to start with all the songs. And top left-hand corner, we've got the map. It's colored by continent, Europe in green, North America in red, and so forth. There's a dot for every city that Dylan has played in, and the size of that dot is determined by how many songs have been played there. So we can see New York in the US, he's given 124 concerts that had 1,448 songs. Another big one is Tokyo, where he's played 45 concerts, 923 songs. Perhaps Reykjavik, on the other hand, the other end of the scale, 2 concerts, played only 36 songs. And then we see how these are broken out by year. So from not so many in 1959 up through the big tour in 66, the very big tour in 78, and how many, for example, in 78, there were 3,065 songs performed, and then we see that's over 112 concerts. And when we're taking Dylan's career as a totality, we see that All Along the Watchtower has been performed more than anything else, 2,263 times. But that's not always the case, because if we just click on New York, it refilters everything. So we now see that those 124 concerts in New York of one kind or another go from 1961 up to 2015. And in that time, Like a Rolling Stone is the most played song, 44 times. So we click off that, click on to Tokyo, and we see that it's Blowing in the Wind. He's played there since 78, obviously, Budokan, up to 2016 and the last year's tour. And yeah, Blowing in the Wind was played 36 times. We can use it the other way, that let's see where Dylan played in 1986. And we see that, yeah, the 86 tour in North America, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, he played 1,452 songs over 63 concerts. And of that, we had Ballad of a Thin Man coming in with 58, Blowing in the Wind, In the Garden, Rainy Day Wembley. You see, there was a lot of concerts were pretty much the same set list if he's playing all those songs repeatedly. Now, that's all well and good, and you can explore that to your heart's content, but let's move on. What I'm looking at, are Dylan songs on Dylan albums. And what I mean by that are, if Dylan has recorded it on a studio album, it's a Dylan song as far as I'm concerned. And that's great. A lot of his concerts are that, but it really swamps 3 other groups of songs that he performs. Cover versions, traditional songs, and well, basically Dylan songs that they're non-album tracks, they never made the final cut. So let's have a look at some of those. And again, the same sort of thing that click off that. So these are cover versions. This is songs by other people that Dylan has performed. And of those, I would also point out, for example, as a little aside, songs on Shadows of the Night, Triplicate and that, those are all Dylan studio albums, and the songs on those, even though they were written by other people, I have now considered them to be Dylan songs. So you may not like it, but that's just how I'm dealing with the data. And so the ones that don't turn up on regular studio albums, we have Not Fade Away, which he played 138 times. And we see where he's played different songs again by the number of performances and the size of the dots by the number of songs that were performed there. One of my favorites is Searching for a Soldier's Grave, played 111 times. And again, we can do that. You want to see where Cocaine Blues was played 70 times, and we see that everything refilters to it. We see that it was played twice in 63, but mostly where he's played in concert has been 97, 98, and 99, just 3 very limited years. And again, it goes the other way around. You want to see what the 4 songs that he cover versions that he's played in Buenos Aires. Again, Cocaine Blues, It's Too Late, People Get Ready, and Roving Gambler. We can see that those were on 2 different occasions in 91 and 98. So we can dive into it at that very small level. Again, traditional songs. Again, one of my great favorites is his version of Duncan and Brady. He's played that 81 times in concert and over his career. But again, mostly to be found on the very, very good 2000 tour. Played it once in 99, most of it, like I said, in 47 times in 2000. A few fewer times in 2001, played only 24 times. Played it 9 times in 2002, and it hasn't been in concert since. And again, if you want to click off that, and you say, well, what traditional songs has he played in London? And you can see where they are, when they are. Largely the same idea with non-album tracks. For example, in this case, I Shall Be Released is his single biggest album track, non-album track. He wrote it, it ended up on Music from Big Pink, and it didn't turn up on an actual Dylan album for a long time. So yes, it has been released, but I don't consider it to be a core Dylan studio track. Famously, of course, we have Blind Willie McTell, recorded for the Infidel sessions, but not released at that time. So let's look at all the concerts. And again, this is the map of the world sized by the number of performances rather than the number of songs. And it's hard to tell from a map like this, but much easier from the bar chart for looking at our top 20 countries, that Dylan has mostly played in the US. 2,162 of his concerts. That's pretty much more than everything else combined. And we can see the UK comes in by comparison at a rather paltry 197 times. And again, you can look at this by, you want to see where he played in 2000, and again, it's a European and North American tour, and most of the dates in that are all in North America. If you want to see where the years he's played in Canada, you do it this way, and it maps out the individual towns in Canada. You notice never anything further north than in Edmonton, Alberta. But he's been playing there since from '62 right up until 2014. And when he's in Canada, the single most performed song has been All Along the Watchtower. Of the 19 times that he's played Montreal, again, 12 of those times he's played All Along the Watchtower. So you can look at it like that. You can delve down into pretty much any level you want and see where he played in what particular of his top 20 countries. Now, this is When Did You See Dylan? And top right here we have the most popular days of the week. So not surprisingly, the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, but also Wednesdays are popular days for him to perform. And at a career level, his most performed month is November, where he's done 499 shows in November, with July coming close with the 475. This graph here in the top left kind of brings those two pieces together, see the intersections. So, for example, a Wednesday in November, he's played 82 concerts, and you're more likely to see him on a Wednesday in November, or indeed, we say a Friday in October where he's played 80 concerts, rather than a September Monday where he's played only 8. And again, we have brought it back from before. You've seen this. This is how many shows per year. So if you want to say, for example, how does this look like? This is at his top career level. Now for the year 1996. Well, he played, again, Saturdays in November were a much better time to see him rather than Mondays in May where he didn't play at all. By the way, if you want to select multiple years and you want to see 97, 98, and 99, and just for the hell of it, throw in 2010, Control-Click does it every time, multiple selections. And again, here you can see how that changes the graph. As I mentioned, Dylan is essentially a US performer. And so let's look at where he's played. So you can kind of work it out from the map by the deep reds in California and New York, but you can really see it on the top 20 states, that he's played both of those 255 times, more than any other state. And at that level, again, not surprisingly, All Along the Watchtower has been played 1,332 times. And within the states, his top city for playing is, not surprisingly, New York, followed by Los Angeles. And again, we can break it down. If you want to see Texas, where he's played 70 shows, we will go to just one bar for Texas there. Again, All Along the Watchtower is the single most performed show or song. So of the 70 times, he's performed All Along the Watchtower 50 times. And Austin, Texas, a beautiful city, he's played 18 times. Gatesville, Texas, only the once. And again, Control-Click if you want to add in Illinois into that and see how that changes it. And basically drill down to the information that you are most interested in. And if he's played the US a lot, he's also played Canada, Mesopelagia, From Sea to Shining Sea. And if you're Canadian, because I have lots of family and friends that are Canadian, and you want to see Dylan, you got to go to Ontario. He's played Ontario 66 times, and guess what? The single most song that he has played is All Along the Watchtower. So if you wanted to see him, yeah, the 1,133 songs he has played in his 66 shows in Ontario, the most popular of those is 117 times is All Along the Watchtower. Nova Scotia has only been played 3 times, and he's only ever played Halifax, Nova Scotia, and of those 3 times, All Along the Watchtower, Like a Rolling Stone, and Rainy Day Women have each been played 3 times. So you can, again, same idea. Dylan in Europe, we can go and do exactly the same thing, delve into it. And in a European context, when you roll the United Kingdom, as it currently is, for however long that lasts, from its constituent parts up to the UK, he has played 197 shows. And this, at the other end of the scale, there's been 1 gig in Russia in St. Petersburg some years ago, and it does take up a lot of landmass. So, not surprisingly, All Along the Watchtower in Europe has been played 609 times. And again, from our European countries, the UK is followed by Germany, and not surprisingly, the single most popular city in the UK for Dylan to play is London, where he's played 85 times. But Berlin in Germany is only the 4th most popular. So the implication you can take from this is that while Dylan plays more shows in the UK than in Germany, he plays them mostly in London rather than in Germany, where he plays in a number of different places. And if you want to see him in Ireland, you could have seen him up to 25 times, of which 16 have been in Dublin so far. I'm recording this in early May, before his Dublin concert, so that'll be going up to 17 rather soon. And not surprisingly, if you want to hear Dylan in concert, in the past certainly, you are more likely to hear him play All Along the Watchtower and Like a Rolling Stone, with Highway 61 Revisited coming in 3rd. Now, those are large parts of the world, but it's not everywhere Bob plays. So it's unfair to roll the rest of the world up, but we could have lots and lots of these. So from Israel and Turkey over here to China and the Far East and Australia, New Zealand, South America, and Mexico and North America, we can see that of all the rest of the world, Australia and Japan are his favourite places to play, with 104 and 100 shows respectively. And even though he's played Australia more than he's played Japan, he's played Tokyo 45 times versus only 30 times for Sydney. And yet again, all along the Watchtower, in that has been played 205 times. So if we go to Brazil, where he's played 19 times, Highway 61 has been played 15 times. Now, that kind of takes it away from the data, and this is kind of bringing in a secondary data set into it. And for a lot of people that are big fans of Dylan, bootlegs and the appreciation of bootlegs is something of a contentious item, because we kind of all know that we listen to them, we love them dearly, but we don't generally talk about them in public. And I've decided to break with that tradition and say, you know what, to hell with it. This is what's my collection. I love Dylan's work. I have every album that he has ever released. I have bought it in multiple editions, and I still have all these bootlegs as well. So what we've done here is gone and said that this is the number of songs that have been performed per year. This is everything he's done, everything that we have on stage of Dylan. And then I've gone and said, well, this is how many songs per year I have in my bootleg collection. And for example, the 78 tour, Dylan did 3,065 songs. Of those, I have, in one form or another on bootleg, I have 796 of them. And that equates to 26% of his output for that year. So we have, I said, the number of songs performed, what's in my collection as whole numbers, and then how that works out in percentages. It's all rolled up to the very top with the current state of my data source is that Dylan has performed 58,000, nearly 59,000 tracks live. My personal collection includes just over 14,000 of those, and because I'm that kind of weird, I can calculate that down to 3 decimal places, placing me my collection as just above 24%. Now, there's one little tool, a filter on this map that the map shows you everything, and if you click no bootleg, meaning I don't have a bootleg of it, it not only refilters this map, it actually refilters everything that you see in the dashboard. So for example, we just looked at Dylan in the US. Now it's going to show you what Dylan in the US in my collection looks like. And bizarrely, the 2 states up here is Idaho and whatever that one is. I don't have any recordings of those. There were 70 concerts given in Texas. I have recordings of 23 of those. And while All Along the Watchtower was the most performed song anywhere he goes, including in the US, it's only the second most common one in my collection. It's in second place with 208, beaten into first place by 212 recordings of Like a Rolling Stone. And we can go from there. We can look at, for example, Dylan in Europe, and it shows that, for example, I do not have that one Russian concert. There are a number of other ones that I don't have. And of the, I think it's 19 or so in Ireland, I have 17 of those in one form or another. And so that gives you an idea of what my collection is. And I know it's kind of fun for me and maybe not so for everybody else, but it's just something I wanted to do. And to balance that very personal thing, I wanted then to give you, the viewers and the users, a chance to do something that's interesting to you. And so I've given a set of controls here that looks at the location, the age, and the performance in terms of the songs. So you can select from the continent, the country, the US state, if it's in the US, Canadian province, likewise, the city, and down to the venue level. You can select if you would just want to see one particular decade or a particular age range, or you can go for an exact date. So you can move these calipers manually like this, or you can, when it changes, you can then move it by the calendar function, or you can type it in manually. And if you say, you know what, the only Dylan album I am interested in is bringing it all back home, so you click off everything, and you just click on bringing it all back home. and you then see where everything was recorded or performed. I would point out that the null here means that these are non-album tracks. So it's these are all the album tracks, and those are the nulls, the ones that I said, the traditional songs, the cover versions, and the non-album ones. And each one filters the others. So, for example, if you're looking at Bring It All Back Home, the only songs that will be listed here are the songs from Bring It All Back Home that are being performed live. So this is the place where you can start going, well, I live in, let's see, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and you want to see everything that Dylan has performed there. Just click on that, and then click on the title. And, well, songs from Bring It All Back Home have been performed in one concert. There have been 3 songs, and you can see that those are the 3 of them there. If you want to see all that Dylan has performed in Allentown, he's performed 2 concerts that total 28 songs. And then when you go back over the rest of the dashboards, those will now take on all your choices. And in some cases, when we're looking at all the songs, or for example, Dylan in the US, a selection of a US state or a city makes sense. But if you look at Dylan in Europe, now we're going to see that everything is blank because there is no European city involved. The one thing I would say at the end of this is that if you're a fan of Dylan, there's a lot to be got in here. I've put a lot of work into it. I think it's a lot of fun. And it goes to my central diktat with using Tableau, that you learn more, better, and faster if you use data sets that are meaningful and interesting to you. So a lot of the stuff that I've used here is very useful for my work in IT, where I'm currently working with HR and various business metrics. But I come home and I teach myself new techniques on data sets that are really important to me. And with that, I thank you, and I bring you back to the welcome screen. And I hope it's been interesting. I hope you've enjoyed it, and enjoy your Dylan. Thank you very much.